If you're tuning in right now, I'm here to talk about the state of the game. And the first thing that comes to mind when I say that is Day 9 state of the game when he was doing StarCraft. So let's not steal that. But I've been waiting to talk about League for a while. And usually I was so interested in talking about League, I brought back a 2-year defunct YouTube series to talk about League. That's how much I want to talk about it. And you guys know me, I like to ramble on a lot, which is why I decided to release a video first talking about the main problems and then release this to kind of combine the two problems together. Let me go ahead and drag you guys over here with the screen up so I can kind of see what you guys are saying. So I released a video about what I wanted to, the big things that I wanted to talk about for this patch. With that video, I feel like it wasn't scripted super well. I think that graphically it could have been a lot better, and scripting wise, I did 3 or 4 retakes, and I should have done 6 because I could have probably cleaned it up to the redundancy a lot to kind of fill it within like a 15-minute mark. Anyways, regardless, today's talk, I'm gonna recover what's in the video. So if you guys did your homework, you should have watched the video, and this should be stuff you've already heard. And if not, well, luckily for you, this is a refresher course, or hopefully not your first time listening to what I have to say. I'll talk about the video, go over broadly what I mean, and then cover these 5 topics that I want to talk about. The first 2 are pretty much the video, and then the next 3 are things that I just want to talk about, or I've been wanting to talk about for a while. So without further ado, let's get into it. So my video today released and talked about variance. So first of all, let's change the order of this because it doesn't make any sense to talk about a rune rework before talking about variance, because that's the main thing I want to kind of talk about. So hold on. So before we get into variance, first I want to credit the person who gave me this idea. So I talked a while back, and I don't know if this writer wants to make it public on who talked to me about this, but it was one of the champion designers. And I talked to Ryan about playing Heroes of the Storm, and I asked him, what do you think about Heroes of the Storm? Turns out a lot of writers tend to spend their time when they're balancing, looking at other games for inspiration, or to see what they did, maybe they can do something else. So he had already played HOTS, he had already played Dota 2, quite a bit of hours to give and formulate his own opinion. And he told me that he thought Heroes of the Storm was a lower variance game than League of Legends. And on the reverse end, Dota 2 was a very high variance game. And I asked him, what does variance mean, dude? And he told me, well, pretty much what variance is it's the difference, how hard one game can differentiate from another. We're just talking in the context of MOBAs in general. So between one league game to another league game, if you go full extreme, you're feeding your ass off. Literally, you're 0-7, and in this game, you're 7-0. How hard can the variance go? And or how hard can like it pretty much go. So generally when we're talking about MOBAs, we're using these 3 because they're the most popular. So Dota 2 came first, or I would say Dota came first. Very, very high variance game. You can have games where you're literally completely useless, and a lot of what makes the game high variance is the fact that like there's gold loss on death, you know, and so like you can literally be put out of the game and into like the dog pen just by dying over and over again. Carries carry disgustingly hard. So give 1v5, like 20-0 carries, complete possibility when you're playing Dota. Okay? So highest variance game by far. Then afterwards, League of Legends came in. League of Legends at the time was the lower variance game, which at this point we'll say it's medium because I want to put it in perspective, but just timeline-wise, it's the second game that came after. So this is a game that, you know, didn't have gold loss on death. This is a game where, you know, they just increased the ambient gold in the game so that there's less variance to deal with. So this is a game that's like, it's in between the 2 extremes, and it's kind of been the middle ground for all the MOBAs. And I started playing this game because I liked the middle ground where it was at. It's a middle variance game, probably like middle high, or just straight up in the middle. And I thought that, you know what, that's a great thing to do, because some games I don't want to be like, you know, cannon fodder for the enemy team. I don't want to be a guy going 0-20. And while that that may happen in League, usually it's only possible for me to go 0-20 if I intentionally feed. I think the most deaths I've ever had in 7 years has been playing Leona, and I went 19 deaths. So going to 20 deaths is very, very hard impossible, or very, very improbable. Before talking more about League of Legends, let's go to Heroes of the Storm. So Heroes of the Storm is our low variance game. If you ever played Heroes of the Storm, everyone has the same level. Your entire team shares XP, and you spend the game like soaking XP, catching waves, and power spiking on different levels in the game. Realistically, the highest lead you're ever going to get in that game is like 3 levels, and the game doesn't really feel different from game to game. So generally, if you're smashing really hard, or if you're like getting like your ass kicked, the games feel a lot similar than some of these higher variance options, where you might feel just completely miserable and completely useless. With that being said, League of Legends, let's just say it's a medium variance game. What has League done since then, since its iteration? So League of Legends has lowered its variance over time. Now, I know in the video, one of the top comments was, Scarra, dude, you don't understand. In high elo, you have these problems, but no one else has these problems. No one understands what I mean. And I think I clarified the video incorrectly when I talked about variance. So my clarification is just like, essentially it's a difference between like what can happen game by game. And what I mean is when by increasing variance and decreasing variance is, look at what League has done over the years to decrease variance on the map. So here's some examples. They've increased the global gold gain in the map, just increase the overall. So even if you just suck, if you're literally AFK, you will be getting more gold than you used to. That lowers the variance of every game by game. Additionally, they increased the XP range, so you can no longer deny other players as much as you could. This is like way back in season 3 or 4. That also lowers the variance. So over the years, Riot Games has slowly kind of chipped away at, I would say, this medium variance, and to kind of push it a little bit lower. And that's just from my own perspective of the overall state of the game. Regardless if you're playing in bronze, you're playing unranked, or you're playing challenger, this notion is always the same. And I think that at some level, Riot Games understands this. So, we've gotten so far into low variance, people are starting to feel like the games are too similar. They're starting to feel like, and the problems with low variance are issues that people say. When people say stuff like, it feels like I can't carry anymore. It feels like, the game is lost based on who plays the worst, as opposed to like me being able to carry anyone else. A lot of times, 90% of times, that's just excuses. You just suck. But 10%, or maybe like a little bit less, maybe they're legitimate reasons. But I think people have been really not not thinking of why you get to that point, because that's not the original point, right? That you get to that point because there's situations where Riot slowly shifted the variance lower as the game has progressed. And so I think Riot automatically understands that this is a problem. And one of the things they've done, they recently just did the bounty system change, where it's like, okay, well, if you shut down someone, you get all the bounty and people don't share it, right? What that really does is just nerf supports. Like literally straight up, they gave you a gold graph, and they're like, the position it was nerfs all around, but the position that was most affected by this was the support role. They lost on average 420 gold. And I was like, oh, okay. And everyone else lost. Mid lane lost 250. People average between 200, 300, and supports lost more. So literally, it was just a support nerf, right? And I think Riot understands. And also, the introduction of scuttle crabs is what I think to be a potential chance to increase variance in the game, to make the games feel different game after game. There's a reason why drakes are in the game, why they're RNG, because, Riot wants them to feel like the game is different every game. And the thing about Riot Games is that they need to change the game up 100%. The game is so old, 7-8 years old. They need to make these changes to keep the player base interested, to keep them happy, to keep them still playing their game. Riot doesn't want you as a player to be like, oh, I'm not really feeling this game. Oh, what's that? Fortnite? I mean, I guess I'll try it, and start kind of distancing yourself from the game. They want to keep you entertained. They want to keep you focused on their game the most. And to do that, they need change. And so, like, again, I think Riot does understand that change is necessary. So every season, change happens, and the thing about change is that it'll automatically increase variance for a period of time, until stuff settles down, right? And so this is a good way to segue into our second point. We're segueing into this, the rune rework. So the rune rework is really interesting in the sense that if you watch my video, which I'm sure absolutely none of you did, gotta be completely honest, I know none of you did. I say that I don't like the rune rework system because I think that generally it puts too much power into the game. It's a interesting concept because for me, I think that one and the most important thing is the fact that I don't think the game can be adequately balanced around a rune system anytime soon. I think in the future it is possible, hey, 6 months, year down the line, Riot Games feasibly balances correctly off their rune system. But until that point, the game itself is going to be wonky. And as a person who wants to balance the game, let's say your average Joe, you guys come in and you're like, I want to balance the game, you know? Hi, I'm straight from Reddit and I really, really want to like make sure that Fiddlesticks is a top tier. Like we're buffing Fiddlesticks, you know? Well, what do you have to go through when you're buffing a champion? You have to see, okay, how do they work with all the items in the game? How do they work as a champion alone, and holistically, how they work against every champion. And lastly, how do they work with the rune system in the game? You're just adding another layer to make it harder for people to balance the game effectively. Because the thing about rune system is that there's always going to be some champions that abuse certain runes more than anyone else, right? There's certain champions that are going to be great with like, a great example is the old Warlords that was based on crit, the mastery, that was just abused by Tryndamere every game, and Yasuo. And I would say this, iteration of the rune rework, you know, Airy and Scorch are being abused nonstop by supports to create more lane pressure than they should have. And I think that that's not good. And the introduction, let me kind of make sure this transition is clear, because I think that also the way I phrased the rune rework may not have been clear, kind of the impact of why the rune system is bad. So the rune system, this current rune system combined the old runes and the old masteries and clumped them together. I would say reasonably, each of the old systems had about like, let's just say they had 15% of relative impact on the game, meaning that you were 15% tankier or 15% that dealt 15% more damage. And you clump them together, so overall there were 30% more damage or tankiness. Fair enough. So when they're doing the runes rework system, what do they want? They're like, okay, well, it was worth 30% in the past. Let's make it worth 30% now. However, the old rune system wasn't built like that. The old rune system felt like everyone kind of took the same runes. There were some people that kind of itemized more defensively or more offensively, but for the most part, the rune system was just static, and people just changed mastery systems. So what really happened was they increased the amount of damage in the game by 15% because they took the power from runes and just kind of pushed it over. And this is a complete eyeball statistic, right? This is just with my general thoughts. Don't get too caught up on the actual numbers. But in my mind, they made 15% more damage happen in the game. And a good thing to note is that when you're thinking about the old rune system, realize that you can itemize more defensively than you could offensively in the old rune system, because there are OP things like armor quints. You can get 22 armor at level 1. You can get MR quints, you know? So there were no situations where the rune system ended up being more damage than tankiness. Cool. So we're in a state where the game overall, you do more damage than you did before. What does that mean? That means that a lot of champions can't lane. The game itself was balanced in a state where every champion did 15% less damage. All of a sudden, everyone does more damage. What happens? No one can lane against the best champions. They just shit on you. So what does Riot Games do with their brilliant minds? They're like, you know what? We're going to introduce sustained options that are very, very powerful to counteract the very, very powerful offensive options. So you have the resolve tree. And God forbid, the first iteration, second iteration, third iteration, fourth iteration of the resolve tree got nerfed consecutively. On top of that, they introduced fleet footwork, and holy shit, that got nerfed too. They introduced Doran's shield, which by the way is such a big problem in the game. And they have all these incredibly OP defensive tools. I think Doran's shield, this is what Doran's shield does. This is how QD explains Doran's shield to me. When he's playing against Morgana, he steps into Doran's shield to keep the regeneration. And at level 1, when you auto attack the other player, you lose the first trade because you auto attack first. Like the item itself rewards incredibly passive play. However, it's necessary for you to take any non-meta or like semi-weak champion through lane. It's necessary. 100% you need to use it or else you just can't get through lane. So they gave you super OP offensive options, super OP defensive options. Now, what happens when you combine the two? You suddenly can play more. This is the funniest thing. This has caused more champion versatility from Riot Games' side, because you can take any champion, slap them in the lane, and throw a D-shield on them, and you can probably get through lane with a 20 CS deficit. I'm talking like probably the worst matchups in the game. And before, when I played bad matchups, holy shit, I got shit stomped. I'm playing against Bjerg or Jensen, I'm 40 CS down by like the 10-minute mark. And I'm just like, oh my god, dude. Stop putting it in me, dude. Please, like, come on, I'm streaming. At least pretend like it's hard. But in the current situation, I'm like breaking even against a lot of the best players. And I'm 10, 20 CS down. And it's like, it doesn't feel like anything's happening because they made it so it's impossible to lose lane by that much. That's how strong the defensive options are. You cannot lose lane like you could before. And that's not how I felt like the old game used to work. I know that's not how the old game used to work. You used to make the way I used to see Sustain was you made 3 mistakes, right? You have 2 pots to take 2 mistakes, and a third mistake would cost you dearly. That's how you would trade. You would trade around these mistakes, and your pots were there to make sure that you had like, you know, the ability to take a couple mistakes a lane. Nowadays, it's like people don't even bother hitting the other player because it's not worth it. Like the chance that they can make a mistake is lower than the chance of you. It's just better to wave clear. I'll get to that in the 5th topic, the bottom one. So before we talk about that, let's go back a little. So Indian, you can't lose lane as hard as you could. What does that mean? There's more champions that are viable to be played because you can stick a champion anywhere, throw a D-shield on them with the resolve tree. Congratulations. You're doing great, you know. You can lane against some of the best champions in the game and only be down like 20 CS, 10, 20 CS. But it creates lower variance in the game because, again, you can only be down 20 CS. You can't stomp your lane anymore because Riot has this really difficult balancing situation now where their damage is too high and their sustain is too high, and all of a sudden they're getting the result they wanted, which is higher champion diversity, but it comes at the humongous cost of games feeling more and more similar. You cannot take advantage of your lead as much. You cannot create a lead as often as you could before. Okay? That's kind of the state that the rune rework system is in right now. The rune system right now is in that. And that's how I feel laning every single day. Is like I lane and I have the possibility to take overpowered sustain options if so desired. But it gives Riot the ability to be like, hey, you can play any champion you want, which is technically true. You know, they found the solution to one of their problems. It came at the expense of another. I don't know the solution to this. To this, I'm just like, oh boy, we went from one bucket of problems into another bucket. So I'm not going to dwell on this. I just want to state that's why I started with variance and moved to the rune rework system. Because to understand what it means to have different levels of variance is to understand the importance of why the rune rework system and kind of the sustained options in the game move the game to a lesser variance state than they used to be before. Let's move on to AP itemization, okay? And for people who have any questions, please raise your hands, and I will tend to ignore them and then call you guys at the very end of class. So we'll talk about it probably in 30 minutes from now. So let's talk about AP itemization. AP itemization problems. This one is very, very easy. Okay, super easy. The game itself has been balanced around double penetration for as long as I can remember, for like a year and a half, right, or more. And from the very first iteration of the AP itemization rework, where they introduced GOP, Ludens, you got Seraphs. God bless Riot's soul. GLP sucks. So whatever, you have these two options. The only difference now is no longer do you go Sorc Shoes into Haunting Guys. Now you have this great idea to go Sorc Shoes into like Ludens into Haunting or Oblivion Orb. So their AP itemization, for some reason, I stated this specifically when I read the patch notes the first time, I was scared that the itemization wouldn't change at all. And to be honest, it hasn't. The game is stuck in a balanced perspective built around every AP mage gets double penetration if possible. And I think that that's not a way to balance the game. Like, I thought they would move away from that when they were introducing AP itemization, but they've stuck with it, and it's been there for like multiple seasons now. That's a big problem. I think that the AP itemization rework failed to do what it was supposed to, which was change people's itemization routes enough. So that's all I wanted to say on that topic. Moving on, snowballing, rubber banding. Okay, this is where it gets real interesting. So we talked about variance. We talked about the game itself inserting higher or lower variance into the game because that's how like Riot's kind of changed it over the years. And they've stepped back a little bit and kind of tried to move it up here and there, but for the most part, it's been going lower and lower. Now, this is really interesting. League of Legends is a super snowbally game. I think that League of Legends snowballs not like a medium level game at all. I think, or medium variance game. I think League of Legends snowballs like a high variance game, which is why the game itself is in such a weird state, because I don't know how to even balance a game where it snowballs and rubber bands around a high variance state. So for instance, think about how you lose lane. The jungler came and ended up like pushing the wave in. Shit, I lost my wave control and he got the 6. Or like the jungler killed me once. All of a sudden, what's the first thing you type? FF, right? You shouldn't type that. That's a trick question. You're terrible fucking teammate. You should be typing, don't worry guys, we got it next time. But realistically, most of you are just like FF now. And that's because the snowballing mechanic in the game is so high. It's built for what I think is like a middle high to high variance game. And the rubber banding is the exact same way. So when you kill someone and you come back from the game, it feels like it's not built around the idea that it's a medium variance or medium to low variance game. It's built around a high variance game state. So you have a medium variance game using low variance, like that's moving to low variance that still snowballs and rubber bands like a high variance game. What does that mean in game? Because really, I just said the word variance like 1,600 times. That means when you think about how you play out the games, this is what you think. You think at a certain state, 1 or 2 deaths in, that the game is over. And the game is over because you are no longer in control of the game unless they throw the game. And that's a weird situation to be in. And then if they throw the game, think how fast you get back into the game, you know? Oh, they threw 3 deaths over? Well, shit, dude, let's go. Time to win, right? Oh, they gave up Baron, we just won. FF. They should FF, right? Shifter, get out of my chat. They should FF, right? And so I think that Riot has another problem where the way that their game has a bounty system and the way the game snowballs and it doesn't, and rubber bands. And by rubber banding, sorry, I didn't explain this. Rubber banding is what happens when you kill someone who's really fed. So what are the tools to get you back in the game? This used to be jungle experience, catch up jungle experience, which was, by the way, like really bad. And so I think this game is under a really, really, really weird situation where we're trying to identify the game as like, okay, this is this game, you know, it's a middle tier game. I'm not going to say it's a middle V game, you know, and it has properties of low and of high V games. I'm not going to say the word. So with that in mind, how do you balance all this shit? I don't know. And that's the best thing about what I do. I don't have to know because I'm just here to identify the problem and tell you guys what I think my thoughts are. When people ask me, Scarra, you're really smart. Why don't you join the Riot's balance team? You think I can fix this stuff? No, it's difficult, dude. The first thing I recommended on the video, or one of the first things I recommended on the video, you know what I did? Delete the rune rework system. Actually, just delete it because it makes life harder for the balance team. That's the reason why I want to delete it. Anyways, let's go on to the last topic. This will be real quick. Wave clear in the game. God, this game sucks right now. That sucks. Okay, that's when you're playing mid lane. I don't know if you know this. When I play mid lane, people used to ask me, Scarra, when do you freeze? Scarra, when do you do this? Scarra, how do you know when to roam after this freeze? How do you set up this wave for this? You know what you do every single time right now when you're playing mid lane? Shove the wave. Shove the wave. If you don't know, shove the wave. If you think you don't know, shove the wave. Any possible chance you could be wrong, doesn't matter, shove the wave. Because 99% of the time, you're going to be doing the right thing. The game itself, this is completely... Okay, I'm talking completely about before this topic, the state of the overall game and any kind of LP range, whatever. Specifically right now for the wave clear, I'm talking about the specific meta. So we're going a little bit more deeper into the current state of the game that could change in the future. Wave clear right now is at an all-time high. And the thing about wave clear is Riot kind of put themselves in this bad spot where Riot pretty much told people, hey, for you to become an adequate wave clear champion, your champion must be able to clear range minions at some point during the game, around level 9. And lo and behold, Riot like nerfed range minion health, did all this stuff to be able to allow them to do that, yada yada. All of a sudden, everyone can clear range minions. My mom can clear range minions. It's such a big problem. And Riot's like, shit, we gave them too many wave clear options. We gave them dematerializer. We gave them like all kinds of stuff to where like, wait a sec, we can't control wave clear anymore. That makes sieging impossible. And you know what this means? It means that the game itself. And I don't even know if Riot meant to do this, but before Baron was an option, like it was like, you know what? It's a great option. It's a very big target in the map. If you want to force a fight, start it, dude. I'm sure a fight's happening. And you can run all kinds of different comps before. You can run split push comps, poke comps, you can run siege comps, yada, yada, yada. Now you can't really run any of those comps, realistically. Unless you're playing Zoe Ezreal, which kind of pokes. Realistically, all you're doing is you're running like 5v5 engage comps, or you're running like a Camille split pusher that split pushes to flank the Baron fight. Because Riot has made this game in its entirety, whoever gets Baron wins the game because you can't siege without Baron. Wave clear is way too good. That's their major problem right now, is that wave clear is up here, but they put it up here because if it wasn't that case, people who play bad champions like Lux would never be able to play those champions ever. Because God forbid, playing Lux without the ability to clear range minions and having to auto 3 of them, I one hit the wave as talent. I'm already killing your AD carry. He's begging me to stop by the time you killed the 6th minion in the wave. That's what happens every game if you can't clear backline. And so it's such a weird state right now. You know, we have the rubber banding problem. We have the variance stuff. We have the AP itemization stuff. And finally, we have the wave clear stuff where they built the system where to be viable, you have to be able to do X. However, now everyone can do X. So there's another problem. So again, I don't know what the solution looks like. It could be that they keep the range minion wave clear the same, but make it so the melee range, the melee minions are very, very powerful. They're like mini like, you know, tanks. And so you can't wave clear the whole thing, but you can clear backline. And for me, that seems somewhat reasonable. However, that might make certain champions that wave clear faster even better than they are now, and might put champions like Lux farther in the gutter. So how does Riot keep champion versatility while addressing these issues? I have no idea. Good luck, Riot Games. Anyways, that's kind of everything what I wanted to talk about today. So we talked about 5 different topics. You know, I think that was pretty quick. You know, I think I spent like 40 minutes covering this stuff. I'm gonna open it up to a Q&A. Feel free to ask me anything you want about these questions. I will try to answer whatever I can read. But before that, Liquid Soul, thanks for the sub. PMEQ Traps, welcome back for 8 months. That's still a terrible name. 1212, welcome back for 2 months. Thanks for subbing. Should they oh, whoa. There's one thing I missed. Oh, wait. How did I miss this? Holy shit. Okay. Hold the phone. Sit back down, class. Like, the bell hasn't run. Sit down, shut up. We forgot this one. Specific champion restrictions. I completely forgot. Okay. This is real interesting. So, one of the things that Riot can do about balancing the game is by creating extremely powerful runes and ability and items and making them restricted by class or by character. Meaning certain characters can't take certain keystones, certain characters can't take certain items, and that's one way to balance it. However, Riot has shown again and again that they don't want to do this. And maybe for some reasons that I understand, some reasons that I don't, I'm not really quite sure. However, one of the solutions to some of the problems could be, let's say the rune rework is problematic in the sense that they can't balance Electrocute because Talon is just too good with Electrocute. Like, the way he procs it is unfair because, or maybe not Talon, there's like a certain champion that procs Electrocute really easily, you know? I don't know. It used to be old Fizz used to proc Thunderlords with just QW, and I'm sure there's a situation where Electrocute procs similarly, or there's someone who's abusing Scorch or Airy too much. If you restrict those edge cases from being able to use those runes, that might be your band-aid fix, and it could be very, very good for the game. It's essentially the same thing that happens where Jhin is no longer able to use Rageblade, because, you know, Rageblade Jhin 900 AD, it probably isn't very balanced. However, rather than delete the item because there's a champion that abuses it, they can just make the champion not be able to use it. And sure, it feels bad not being able to buy it. However, it makes everyone else feel better about, you know, not having this broken stuff in the game. But to go back on what I said before, Riot's never shown that they want to do this. And I understand that maybe in some situations when you design runes and items, being restricted is very, very, very bad. And when I talked to Riot about, you know, kind of the game, one of the things that popped up was the idea of player satisfaction. And I found out, you know, some people like it when Thunderlords procs. The little, like, old thing, when that procs. When Electrocute procs and you get that little, like, red Zaz, some people get off on that. Like, they're just really happy to see it. And I didn't realize that, like, you know, that creates high player satisfaction. So removing the runes completely might lower player satisfaction because it might feel worse for the overall player base. I didn't understand that before. I talked to some writers. Maybe that's the case. 100, I could see it, you know? But I think generally that they should focus on making the best game as opposed to, I can't say that because making the best game requires you to fulfill player satisfaction. At some distinct level, it is one of the core fundamental things that you have to fulfill. I think that they should then look to another system where they can do it in a more balanced way, or find a way to be able to balance the rune system better. And one of the ways they can do it is, hey, you know, what's this over here? Specific champion restrictions. That's a way they can balance items and runes a lot quicker. Right now, I'm literally saying Riot will not be able to balance their rune system for 6 months. When we get to Worlds, it will not be a fun time for me to see the game and be like, I know certain champions are going to abuse X, Y, and Z, but with this, this it might be a little bit different. again, this has been thrown around a long time, because bruisers have abused AD itemization a lot, and ADs have abused bruiser itemization a lot in the past, and so they were never able to fully balance the items because one class just kind of took it over. And it might be balanced for like Riven, but it's definitely not balanced for Caitlyn. And so this is kind of the same idea, but for runes as well, and across a broader spectrum, like being able to do champion-specific stuff. So I think this is an interesting solution to some of their problems right now. Definitely not an overall problem fix. I would say this is more of like a band-aid solution, but I think the idea of a band-aid solution being bad should not be the case. Like there are some times where you're too invested in the project, where we need to keep runes reforged in the game. We invested a year on this. Cool. We think we can in a year we can figure out a way to make everything great. In the meantime, let's just do the best we can. And the best we can to me means you gotta put on some band-aids, man. Here and there, you got boo-boo. You can only be treated with a shotgun or a band-aid. I think put on the band-aid, dude. Let's throw the shotgun back out, I think this concludes my overall speech about the matter. I want to say Riot Games have put themselves in a very, very hard and difficult balance situation. I do not envy the balance team at all because they are in such a hard position. I do not know how to fix almost any of the problems I stated. However, I do think, and I wanted to bring up the idea of people are looking at the wrong problems. And these are the problems that I feel like you should be looking at. Cool. With that being said, finally, we get to the last and most exciting part. And by exciting part, I mean stupid part. Ask me questions, but not stupid ones. Cool. We're on this topic. How much of variance in game is caused by players being better or not losing bad matchups and having better coordination? I don't know. I think, and this might actually go into a different topic. Okay. This goes into a different topic that I should have talked about as well. We're never gonna end. Oh, I have a hard cutoff time. I have to leave at 9:40 because I'm going to eat with everyone in the house. So let's talk about. Oh God, do I really want to talk about this? Oh man. Okay. No, actually, I lost my train of thought. What was the question I was looking to answer? Because I went so far into my like down the line that I dropped my initial idea. Someone refresh me on the answer real quick. Trust me, you'll love the answer. Or question, you'll love the answer. I promise you. Oh, skill adding variance. Okay. Okay, let's talk about balance. So, do we balance around high elo or not? This is the biggest thing. Okay, so we're gonna go here. So this is something that I think has been kind of talked about a long time, and I have made my stance on this multiple times, but I've never been able to verbalize fully what I thought and why I thought this way until I've been able to put the pieces together. Very, very first of all, my opinion is that you balance the game around high elo, or you balance the game around, like, I would say, yeah, higher level of play. And the reasoning is, and this is the only reason that matters, is the player base over time gets better. And that is the most important thing. Your player base will 100% year after year get better. Watch the season 1 VODs, watch the season 2 VODs. My God, I'm god awful back then. I'm 10 times the player I used to be in season 2. And you know what? 10 times the player, I'm masters like 30 LP. 10 times the player. And don't even look at League of Legends. Look at other games. Look at World of Warcraft. When raiding first started in MMOs and World of Warcraft World of Warcraft didn't lead the charge, right? EverQuest was there before, yada, but World of Warcraft kind of led the MMO craze, I would say. People didn't know how to do raids. I didn't Ragnaros with 40 people? Are you kidding me? You could use 20 people and beat that. How with 40 people, it just meant there was 10 people who just like AFK'd and like 30 people who kind of could click their mouse. But like now everyone's min-maxing it. You know, you got elitist jerks. You know exactly how to do your highest DPS rotation. You have all these logs. You know exactly what to do, and the player base gets better. That's the number one most important thing. So balancing around lower levels of play makes no sense because your average level of play is going to increase over time. League of Legends, the average player base is actually so good. Actually incredible. I go down, like I watch people who are like in gold and platinum. I'm like, you know what? These guys are okay. Sure, maybe they're playing without their brain, but you know, Masters, Challenger players don't use their brains either sometimes. Maybe mechanically they may be flawed. Who cares? They're still much better than they used to be. And the idea that you're supposed to balance around this static standard of your overall player base, I would say, is wrong, because your player base improves over time. You should be there to balance around, you know, the like higher levels of play. Maybe not even the highest, but at the very least higher levels of play, just with the base assumption that a lot of your players will get there. Straight up, a lot of your players will get there. I will say though, you can then fine tune this balance in the sense that if there's an overly abusive champion at lower elos, sure, you can take it on a case by case basis. But the overall direction should be, let's balance the game at a higher level, because that will. And also the best thing is it makes no sense for me as a player when I increase in skill to go into a less balanced game state. That's crazy for me. If I'm your core, like your guy who spends like hours and hours every day, I'm the guy who's out there like peddling your game on the side of the streets. Have you played League of Legends? Have you played League of Legends? Have you heard of our Lord and Savior Mark Merrill? You know, I'm the guy who's doing that because I'm your hardcore player base. If the game is less balanced, the better I get. How miserable is that? Like, really, how miserable is that? Cronzy, thanks for the sub. Velpost, welcome back for 17 months. Love you too, man. Anyways, I am completely done with everything. I'm not even gonna say this. Ask me questions. We're doing this again, and if there's a good one, we'll add it to the list. It's currently 7 things on the list. I hope not to get to 10. Who do you think the target audience is, and what would you say the target audience is? Player base, people who play normals. The target audience is overall the people who play the game. And I think that there is a way, like, you should strive to make a good game overall. I'm not saying you should literally just ignore it. Like, people should have a terrible player experience going up into lower elo and get better as they get higher up, if they ever get that high, right? I'm saying you should balance the game to make a good game overall, and then like focus the balance on making like a great game overall, and then make it so that when people get better, it also feels better. What do you feel about the state of comebacks? I already answered that. Is the game balanced around competitive mode? No. To some degree it is, yes. 100%. They even say so in the thing. Do you think Riot should keep making new champions or focus entirely on reworking current ones? To be honest, doesn't matter. Like, what matter? Who cares? If Riot decides, I'm gonna make 20 new champions, who cares? You know, their balanced team, okay, well, if they go too hard, it might be a little bit hard to deal with, right? But I'm talking at the current pace, or double or half, there's no relevance. It doesn't matter, because in the end, like, they have enough people on their roster. Sorry, that's a team phrase. They have enough people in their company to be able to do multiple things at once. It's not like the same where it's like, you know, Offline TV it's a company, right? When 3 of my talent go to Canada, all of a sudden Offline TV doesn't exist, because I can't function without them. We do everything like on one kind of line. However, Riot Games, God bless their soul, has so many staff that they can concurrently run multiple projects. And so they have people balancing, and they have people doing champions, people doing skins. You're asking, hey, should Riot stop their skins team for to do like more reworks? It's like, no, it doesn't matter. It literally does not matter. $2019 ranked. I don't. Literally, the thing about 2019 ranked is a lot of it, the things do not impact me. Because at a master level, everything kind of goes into one queue again. So I'm just like, all right. Riot's talent is in their music department. Their music department is godly. They have a lot of really, really talented people at Riot. I know, or I met Preco, who used to actually play on Rock Solid. He was our sub, played for us in a tournament. He is now one of the lead people at Riot's music department. Incredibly talented. It's just their entire department just monstrous, just incredible. You mentioned the resolve tree having too much sustain. How would you feel the sustain got someone distributed? Dude, in creative ways, I don't know how to distribute it in creative ways. In my opinion, literally, if the game, like, they can't move it away. Like, I know everyone's perfect state would be, hey, as a Riven player, I would love if the resolve tree doesn't exist. And you see people on Twitter being like, let's make it so people can't take the resolve tree. By the way, I've made Riven. By the way, I play Fiora. By the way, I play Aurelia. She's not broken, by the way. I just love playing her. It's like, no, you can't do that because you literally can't deal with the damage that people take. Like, one trade is like 2 health pots worth now. And so that's why I'm saying you can't take away that tree until you deal with the trees that add damage. Is it true there's no such thing as stupid questions, only stupid answers? I used to think that, but then I met you guys. Have you had any desire to read game lore? 0. But I like that it's an option, but no desire. How about Tiamat? It is certainly a wave clear item. That's my thoughts. How to balance Twisted Tree Line? Why don't they balance Twisted Tree Line as a baseline to fix the game, then move on to Summoner's Rift? I'm gonna be completely honest with you because no one plays that game mode. Most people do not care about Twisted Tree Line. I'm sorry, you guys who love 3v3. I know you just like playing with 2 other people because it's hard to count to 5, and maybe you really enjoy the map because aesthetically you find it pleasing. That's great. Not enough people play the game mode. It's not their main game mode. I don't play Twisted Tree Line. I can't talk to you about that map at all, dude. I'm sorry. Do I enjoy playing against Talon? Talon is the new AD Aurelian Soul right now, so I do not enjoy beating him by 20 CS and still losing the game every game. What if they nerf all mages wave clear too well? Not their damage to champions, just their damage to minions. That's gonna be awfully messed up when they're like, you know what? We really don't like that Azir can wave clear. And as soon as they nerf Azir, Zoe, all this Talia, all this jazz, suddenly, oh shit, Veigar's wave clearing a little bit too much. And suddenly there's new people stepping up to the plate. It's a difficult balancing act. And that's why I don't envy any of the people at Riot's balance team. Because you know what? Hard ass fucking job. I think Zoe is creeping back to being OP. She's literally the best mid laner in the game, if not top 3. What if they reduce all damage in the game by 30%? I've never heard of a worse way to balance the game. Keep your ideas on Reddit and just keep them there, please. Do you think game modes like Earth have an effect on these problems? I think not really. What champions do you think are unbalanceable based on their kits? Stuff like Ryze, Vladimir, to some extent old LeBlanc, or maybe even current LeBlanc. Zoe is really tough. Anything made by Certainty is kind of difficult, to be honest. Any assassin is really hard to balance. Assassins are a great example of how hard it is to balance a game, because the game snowballs so hard, right? As we have pointed out in paragraph or page number 4, paragraph 16, we talked about how the game snowballs at high variance. So when you're playing champions, should assassins wave clear or lane as well as normal mages? The answer probably is no. However, what does this mean? This means when you play against players of equal skill, you get destroyed unless you get help from your jungler. When you're playing against players of worse skill than you pop off and you feel like a god because you're 5-0 on Katarina. But it's really only because the opposing player did not play that well or does not know how to play against Katarina. Every time I play against a player of equal skill, I feel pretty bad because I'm always on the back foot. To the degree where I'm like, well, I help my jungler camps my lane sometimes, and it feels really bad. Why is Doran Shield problematic when it doesn't heal more than half an auto attack at level 1? It's only 20 HP over 10. I mean, that's just the passive itself. It's the active passive, where it has a normal passive as well, and it just gives you too much sustain. Why are you, like, isn't a health pot 100? You're giving a fifth of a health pot at every trade? Come on. The items play too much of a role in making champions power relative to base stats. I don't think that's a problem. Items should be powerful. That's no problem. There's no problem with items. I will say though, I think 80s are getting to their spikes too quickly. And I think Riot recognized that, hey, you know, maybe crit scaling 80s should wait till their 3rd item before they take over the game, as opposed to their 2nd or their 1st. HP are 150, sorry. So it's 20, 20, 20. 17.5. I have no idea what that actually translates into in percentage. Whatever, you know what I mean. Should buy the book about League? I would 100% buy it. You would 100% be wasting your money. I think you can just get it for me for free. Are the changes to Leah on PBE too drastic? I don't read the PBE. Do you think Riot should define certain roles better, i.e. battle mages are better than siege mages, AD carries, tanks are better than assassins, bruisers are better than tanks. Balance around that, they already do that. However, it's just very difficult because, like, there's other problems with the state of the game, as we've stated up here, where even the roles are kind of difficult. Because even if one should beat another, maybe some champions are too good at doing one thing, and maybe sometimes like the game state itself makes it so they can't get punished that hard because, hey, you know, we have so much sustain in the game. Think pots should give more mana regen? No. Blue and red smite. Yeah, so blue and red smite's really interesting. I don't think red smite should exist, and I think red smite has been a problem since its iteration. It gives you exhaust ignite for free. That's the best way to describe it. Why? It makes it so tanks can do damage in 1v1. It makes it so players or jugglers can skirmish other people better. Why do they need that? I understand slowing people, you know, to get the gank better. Why do they need the ability to skirmish better? I don't understand. And I think that it's been overly strong for multiple seasons now, and it's just been relatively underlooked because there's always more OP options or problems. Zed is notoriously controversial for being hated by low elo scrubs and uses the highest levels of play. Do you think that there's a way to fix any of these sort of champions? I mean, that's all assassins. Like I said before, if you're better than the other players, you're gonna pop off. And if you're at same level, skill level, you're not gonna do that great. And I think when you're playing as an assassin player, you should expect that kind of punishment. However, as an assassin player, I feel like if I die once, I shouldn't be out of the game. And sometimes I feel like if I die 2 times, and the opposing support is like Janna or Soraka or Lulu, I don't get to play the game. And whether or not that's balanced or not, I don't mind having champions that do better against assassins. Support strength, in my opinion, is just too good. Refillable potion, trinket words, free pots and words, or make the game less skill-based? I would say no. I think refillable potion is really interesting. Very, very, very interesting. I think it's one of... as a player, I really like buying it. I don't know why. Araya has somehow brainwashed me into thinking that this item is balanced in the state where a lot of people buy it, but it doesn't feel bad buying it. And it doesn't feel bad when other people buy it. I think it doesn't cause too many problems either. I think that it's completely fine, actually. Players getting words also completely fine. Much better after the nerf where their words matter a lot more. Blast plants, however, plants in the game, I don't understand why they exist to some extent. When Riot first announced plants, I said, hey, that's random. Years later, I still look at plants. I'm like, hey, that's random. They do create some cool gank opportunities and some cool abilities to steal buffs. So maybe they do have intrinsic value, more than I think. But I am not huge on plants. I guess I'm not that much against them either. They just exist. I'm a little bit against them. Does League need more active items like Dota? It needs more items in general. Part of the issue with Runes Reforged is a guaranteed free damage compared to the old system where you were given stats. It's up to you to use them. Sure, but you should think of the Runes Reforged system as the old Mastery system and not as the old Rune system plus Mastery system. It is essentially the old Mastery system, but amped up. Double. 2 Mastery systems. Is season 3 a really good season? I personally have a lot of nostalgia to that, but I think there were inherent problems with that season as well. In the sense that, like, if you were playing against assassins, congratulations getting one shot. Like, I'm sure you had a lot of fun playing Annie buying 2 control words while I'm playing LeBlanc and 2 hitting you. Do you think balancers should keep trying to spice the game up with RNG things or stick to the basics? I think the game needs to be... It needs to have cool stuff in the game. You know? Stuff like plants, stuff like RNG drakes. Stuff like even the Scuttle right now is a very interesting RNG thing that forces, I would say, more interaction, and it's fun. Honestly, it's fun to fight over the Scuttle. We talk about it, we meme about this shit, but like realistically, when me and you were in the river and we're in front of a Scuttle, you already know what's gonna happen. We're about to go down. It's about to go down. One of us is about to go down. It's probably you. And I like that. I think that's cool. Jess Lindo, thanks for the sub. Welcome to the stream. Should TP be removed? Now that's an interesting one. I think TP could potentially see some more nerfs. That would be interesting. I think it's still a little bit too good. Thoughts on kleptomancy shouldn't exist, right? It's only there for fun. Actually, they've had to nerf it so many times. It's so problematic on so many levels, and it just exists. Literally, what does the entire inspiration tree do? It's there to be quirky. You know, it's actually just there to be quirky. Hey, look at all these trees that do like normal stuff. Now look at our cool tree. You're a cool person? I got a tree just for you. You like slowing people when you auto attack them? We got that. You think actually League will be balanced? I think a lot of this is done on purpose. I think a lot of them are done on purpose, but it was without much foresight in the sense that like they know what they're doing and it helps the current situation. Like for instance, their current situation right now, the champion versatility is great. Actually, but it comes at a price. The current meta is too focused on the early game right now. I agree. The new strat where mid jungle buddies that funnel farming to carry, cool. It's interesting. If you're having problems with it, ban the champions. Actually. New spellbook compared to the old, it's obviously a lot worse. That's why no one's playing it. Because, hey, it's a quirky thing, and you can't let your cool factor interrupt you actually having raw damage early, or raw stats early. I think there's a situation where the spellbook is actually much better than it is people currently think. And even the old spellbook took a lot of warming up to. However, until someone does pull it out, it is tentative, highly test subject thing. As support's too important. Yeah, probably. Which role should be the most important? I think mid lane should always be the most important. And not because I'm a mid lane player. Don't get me wrong. You may look at me and you may see bias written over my forehead. However, I see, pragmatic. And the reasoning is because when you win mid lane, look at how many opportunities are available for you in the game. You can roam top lane, you can roam bot lane, you can roam into either jungle, right? On either side. So I think mid is always inherently gonna be a top 3 role. That's just inherently based on the role. It has to be top 3. I would say before it was like a number 2 role or number 3 role even. Now it's like a number 1 role. It's like literally the best role in the game. And the reason why I'm not climbing is because I have one less excuse to pull out because mid lane's actually really good right now. We're removing runes, let them make more drastic design choices? Yes. But I don't think their design choices stop with runes. I don't know, runes are such a weird topic, right? Because essentially HOTS has a rune system that is like interesting, and Dota was just like, let's just take HOTS rune system. So there's more variance in every game that they play, and it's not just like plus stats. And I actually think that their game is so high of variance, and them adding more is kind of interesting. And I think that them going back to add HOTS system is interesting. Works for their game. Would it work for League? I don't think so. Is Echo good? He's an assassin. Should just tell you right there if he's good or not. Every champion is viable. There are champions that are more viable than Echo. I see the AD role as a gun to be pointed by the team. Is there any way to both give AD carries agency and keep them similar? I think part of the things that give AD carries agency is, I think AD carry has always been the most. AD carry and jungle have been the most meta reliant roles. When you talk to AD carry, when you play AD carry, you're always able to play all the other meta AD carries, pretty much. With the exception of maybe something like Jhin that's very different. All AD carries require you to space appropriately, trade the same way, and know how to attack move, right? So whenever something gets strong, notice how quick AD carriers are just meta slaves, And a lot of that has to do with their role. Cutie is a great example. When Cutie is playing, he's playing some meta ass shit, Unless he just randomly picks Lucian, then and after one game, he's like, you know what, I shouldn't have done that. And you see 10 games of Kai'Sa, So ADs are the most meta reliant. I would say to some extent junglers are too. And I completely forgot where I was going with this, but I think that statement alone is kind of a nugget of truth. Thoughts on Shirelius is OP. It's too cost efficient. And that's kind of one of the problems they have with supports, right? And support itemization can never be balanced, because if it's good, other roles will take it, because support items are cheap for high utility. So this is something that would be beneficial to role restriction or champion restriction items. Is Gathering Storm healthy for the game? It doesn't matter. I think that's one of the least problematic things. Will this be uploaded to YouTube? You know what? How long has this been? I think I started at 8. Do you think an hour and 20-minute YouTube thing about the state of the game would be watched on my YouTube? Because the thing is, I already just released a 20-minute talk about this. I think an hour and 30-minute talk about this would be kind of crazy. One person, a couple of people say no. I mean, to be honest, we can just consider it a podcast, you know? We'll just call it Scarra's Second Thoughts. Episode 1, Scarra's Second Thoughts. Oh my god, that sounds so stupid. You want every Q&A on YouTube? God, maybe that's just the right way to do it. What restricting support items to exhaust like Smite and Jungle? That would be interesting, except for then the mid laner would just run exhaust. Scarra's League Thoughts. I'm not gonna name it that. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and play some ads. I want to say thank you everyone for tuning in. I actually have not checked the viewers at all. There are a decent amount of you. I appreciate all of you that tuned in for this. I'm not going to promise I'm doing any of these more in the future. I, however, will do Q&As more in the future because I just think they're fun and I like talking. So anything they get as an excuse for me to talk, that's great. I will talk to my editor. More than likely, we'll just upload this because who cares? Like, I'm sure someone will, as long as some people enjoy it. And generally, I think it's good content. Like, I think what I talked about today was good enough to where, like, if I saw a YouTube thing with it, sure, it's long, but I would be proud to have that up. So with that being said, I'm gonna play some ads and I'm kind of gonna call it in a little bit. Thank you. I watched a video while pooping. Oh, I forgot to say. Anyways, class is dismissed. Remember, guys, we're gonna have a final on all the material covered today. Bring your Scantron and a number 2 pencil. I will see you guys tomorrow. Holy shit. No.